Hello, and welcome back to another video on Teen Talk. And today we're going to be talking about double standards. Hold up. And on today's video, we will be talking about double standards. Hold up, gotta look good for the cam. Gotta look good for the cam. But you may be asking, what about double standards? Well, there is a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I don't think personally it's fair to have double standards. I can see why they exist. I'm not gonna lie. I can see why they exist, but I don't think they should. If you know what I mean. But basically, what I'm just gonna talk about is just some common double standards that I see within my age, elder people, younger people, and just kind of talk about the reasons how it can affect somebody and how it can, socially affect people in different ways. Now, for one instance, double standards are usually formed from prior stereotypes or prior mischaracterizations of people. For instance, a double standard would be like girls can wear nail polish, but guys can't. Now, personally, I wouldn't wear nail polish, but there shouldn't be a stigma around guys wearing nail polish if that's what they want to do. Like, a lot of people think that it's homosexual or gay for guys to wear nail polish. I don't really think so. I mean, a lot of people express themselves in different ways, so that is a common double standard. Another double standard that is very common, I think it's been common for a very while, is that girls can't work in dye fields like police officers, firefighters, that type of stuff. That was a double standard that's kind of going away. But also, I think too, the double standards aren't a good thing. But I will say some of them are in place to, it kind of makes sense. Like, for instance, if a double standard were to be like, I don't know really how to say this, but a double standard would be like, personally, I think girls are better than guys at cooking. Now, for me, I wouldn't say that, even though I do believe that girls can cook better than guys. But it's not that's because of biology and that's because, people are just programmed a different way. It's like the people when you come home and your mom's cooking, it's different from your dad's cooking, and you enjoy your mom's more, but you still say your dad can cook. And I think that's where it kind of missteps a little bit. Now, necessarily, everyone can do everything. That should be a common thing people agree with. But double standards are put in place to demean one gender versus another. Like saying, double standards like women should only be in the household and stay-at-home wives, and dad should only be the one working and providing for the family. That's a double standard that isn't true, because there's a lot of stay-at-home dads and there's a lot of stay-at-home moms, but there's a lot of moms who go work, and there's a lot of there's a lot of dads who stay at the home and take care of the kids. That is just the basic rundown on how double standards are, how they work in society. Now, when it comes to double standards in TV show, I feel like it's very different than in reality. Reality, obviously people just have different ways they were raised differently. But in TV shows, I think double standards are actually more prevalent because you get to over-exaggerate, certain aspects of the double standard. One double standard that I see in a lot of TV shows, I mean, you could call it double standard. It could be called something else, but me personally, I believe it's a double standard. I think it's a double standard how certain characters get pigeonholed into staying one thing, and they're only known for one thing, but they're more than that. And then other characters who aren't, as well liked or well perceived, take on a bigger role. And this was common too. I would see, even this goes back into real life. Back in the day, there was a lot of actors who were casted because they did one role so well that they kept getting cast as that type of role. For example, let's take Sadie Sink's character in Stranger Things. Max, dark childhood, lost a couple people, and then in Marvel, she just play. Oh, spoilers by the way, if you haven't seen it. She plays Jean Grey, and her character has a similar arc. Now, I don't think she's getting pigeonholed to that, but that was a lot back then. Like Macaulay Culkin would get asked for kid roles because he played Home Alone so well. So I think that's a double standard. I also think it's a double standard how certain actors can do certain things and they won't get criticized for it, but then another actor goes and does the same thing and they get criticized for it. Now, an example of that would be, let's take okay, actually scratch the whole acting thing. I was talking about, I'm actually gonna forget about that. We're gonna talk about double standards between kids, because that is one of the actually biggest places I see double standards is with kids. And sometimes it's, oh my goodness, my forehead. Sometimes it's based off of gender, but sometimes I think honestly parents just hold sons versus daughters in a different way, which I mean you have to, because they're different people, different genders. But let me see what I'm talking about. For instance, I'm the ripe age of 17. I'm about to be an adult. I kind of see myself as an adult already. I'm doing a lot of adult things, but legally I'm not an adult yet, is what I would say. Now, growing up, you see a lot of people, you see families, you see your cousins, so everyone has a lot of different parenting styles. I will say that something that's most common that I've seen is I feel like there's a double standard between when a guy is careless or when a son is careless and does something reckless and ruthless versus when a girl does it. I think a lot of the times there's this there's this double standard between men and women where even in high school you see based off your gender you kind of get treated differently, which is again not bad initially, but when you add context to it, kind of sucks. Like for instance, if a girl sneaks out the house, right? Or not, if a girl asks to go out, like a daughter goes to ask to ask out, usually she'll be met with, nah, don't want to go online, don't bring no boys home, don't bring, people home. But then when guys, it's when you go ask your dad for can I bring a girl over? She's like, sure, but don't tell your mom about it. That's a double standard. Honestly, I think a double standard too is that both genders, for some reason, it's very taboo to bring the other gender over once you reach a certain age to the house. And I really don't think that's fair. I also feel like this is a problem in the youth especially. I don't think it's fair. I think people need to have that connection, that human connection, but also they need to learn how to hang out with people in their own environment. A lot of people have trouble adjusting to new environments. So I don't understand why there's a big double standard on oh, you can't bring this guy over because he's a guy, or no, if that person's safe, that person, that person, you should be able to hang out, in which way ever possible. Now, my next topic, because this video is going to be about 15 minutes. My next topic is generalization. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are like, generalization is bad. To me personally, I don't think it's bad unless someone uses it out of context. For one, if I generalize something oh, look, what I was saying before, I was rudely cut off by my phone. A generalization that I think would be good, or I think you could make without any backlash, would be a lot of Asians like anime. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because me personally, I know a lot of Asians that do like anime, and I'm not saying only Asians like anime, but I'm saying that, that is a generalization that I feel like people would get mad at, and I really don't understand the reason why, because if you generalize something and it's true, then why do you feel the need to get mad about it? Now, a bad generalization would be oh my goodness, all Asians can't drive. That's a bad generalization because you're assuming that just because one or two Asians like, all Asians like anime. Like I said with the anime part, I know a lot of Asians like anime. When I say that, I'm just talking about personal experience. I think that's also a big problem. It just in general with people, they misconstrue words to the point where that what you really said is not what they interpret it as, and it's bad too. A lot of words get misused out of context. Like if I say, like, it, when people say, "Oh, black people like chicken," I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. Now, if you're saying it in a way that's like, "Oh my goodness, all black people like chicken," and you're like, you kind of sound disgusted, and you're like, "All black people like chicken," or "All black people love KFC." Not all black people love KFC, but a lot of black people like chicken. There's a difference when you say that, and the huge thing is your tone, the way you say things, and how you convey your message. I think a lot of people don't know how to do that, and it leads to a lot of unnecessary drama because at certain points, people can get mad. People, if you say, "Oh, all white people don't know how to cook," and you say that to a person that knows white people that can cook, they're gonna be like, "Yo, that's not true." You can say that, and I would say that's a bad generalization. But it all matters between context. Context is super important to any situation, anything you're talking about. If you don't have context to it, then you can run into issues in the future. I know I was talking about double standards in this video, talked about generalization, but kind of to like wrap this thing up and to give a little recap, I'm not saying that double standards are good. If we could get rid of all double standards, I would get rid of them, but I do understand why I understand why they kind of exist. It's good and bad. Everything has a pros and cons to it. Now, my perspective on why I think double standards need to exist, not like because to demean anyone down, but like, for instance, if the double standards, like the whole girl dad thing, like, oh, girls aren't let out, or girls usually it's different from girls asking, "Hey, can I bring a boy over?" than guys bring a girl over. That I wouldn't say that, it's not great, but I also wouldn't say that's a bad thing because, dads with daughters are overprotective, a lot of the times overprotective of their daughters because they don't want to get hurt. Now that's good, but I will also say there is such thing as overprotective, and a lot of parents are. Now, I'm not saying all parents are. A lot of parents are overprotective to the point where it makes their kid want to do something dangerous to spite their parents. Or, hear me out, a lot of parents are overprotective to the point where it forces their kids to act out. And I think that's a big issue parents need to fix. Like, obviously, you have the authority and you have the right to protect your child. Like, nobody's not saying that. But what I am saying is a lot, especially Gen Z, for some reason, a lot parents will be like, "You can't go outside, you can't do this, you can't do that." And then they want to know why their kid is so introverted and so, I don't want to go outside, because you're not letting them experience. In order for someone to truly know what's right or wrong, you have to let them experience it in an environment where it's like, okay, for instance, if I go to a party and I sense that there's alcohol there, I can see it, there's people drinking, I myself would get the sense to like, this is not for me, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go home. Now, I will say with teenagers, a lot of teenagers do not think that way. I mean, honestly, they don't think that way. They'll sense danger, but they'll have this like, I guess like pride or ego that nothing can happen to them, and that's when they actually start doing stuff that puts them in more danger. But I'm not gonna be the type of person that, like adults be like, oh, you can't go out to the movies because I've I've never met the person before. That's something I'm really iffy on, because if the thing is, I'm iffy on that because I know back in the day, people would just go with random kids to hang out and it would be fine. Now I know things have changed, but we have to have a little leeway. I'm talking parents. You guys have to have a little leeway with that, because if you're too overprotective of your kid is actually just gonna go out their way to really do dumb stuff. But if you tell them straight up, like, hey, you can go, but make sure you stay safe. Make sure if anything happens, you call me, or if you feel like something's wrong, remove yourself for the situation. I don't think parents are very good communicators of letting their kid or letting their teens or just whatever, letting them express like what they're actually doing. Because I could be like, I'm going to the park with a couple of friends. If I'm going to the park with a couple of friends that I know that I can trust, and the parent's like, nah, like I don't want you to go, that's where I'm like, you really like can't. I understand from parents, like, you want your kid to be safe, but there's also times where that's just too much, and you're like, well, I can't do anything because every time I ask to do something, you're always like, no, even though I'm in a high safe situation. It's not like I'm going out to this nowhere area. First of all, this area is known. There's a lot of people around us. It's just a park. Like, let me go. And I think that, that's not always the answer. Like kids should definitely, especially teens. I wouldn't say kids, because when you're younger, your parents could watch you. Parents really know who your friends are. But I say once you get to like middle school and your teenage years, and you just want to go out places, I do feel like teens have to actually like be better at not only choosing the right people to hang out with, but not doing stuff or not instigating a situation where it could lead to something worse. I know some people that will go out, have fun, go back home. But there's also other people, not just that I know, but there's also other people in life that will, again, see a bad situation and like instigate and keep doing that stuff. And then something happens and they're like, oh, like, what do I do? And though I don't like when people play the victim card. Like, there's obvious signs that something's a bad situation. Like, you're like, oh, I can't do this. Teenagers just need to have more of and it's hard because your body's changing so much, but teens need to have the self-control to preserve themselves, or just to stay out of situations that are super out of their control. Now, all in all, that is basically it for today. We talked about double standards and how I think that they shouldn't exist, but they do, and in certain ways it can protect, some things from happening. We talked about generalization, using context, and using your key clues to make sure you're actually saying something as a fact rather than making a statement. There's a difference between the two. A fact is true. A statement cannot be true. Like, someone can make a bold statement and it not be true. Oh, no. Someone can make a bold statement and it not be true. And then third, we talked about, which was kind of a random tangent, we talked about how parents could be too overbearing, but also how teens need to understand that the situations they put themselves in can lead to the parents not trusting them, or can lead to their situations becoming worse. But yeah, that is all for Teen Talks today. I'm glad you guys stuck around. This is just a series where I can just talk about things and my perspective. Obviously, my opinion and my perspective is not always 100% right, but I do feel like for I can be a voice of my age to explain things that, you know, maybe parents don't see, but maybe other teenagers don't see. Because everybody's life is different and everyone's experience is different. So I feel like with this series, I can make it a goal to, you know, express as everyone's different perspectives equally and in a way that doesn't seem like I'm coming off in a rude, obnoxious way. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.